Hey guys, welcome back to Coffee and Cartridges. So today we're going to talk about two very popular but yet controversial rifle cartridges. The 7mm Remington Magnum and the 7mm PRC. Alright, I'll throw a few comments on the screen right now. Now, those were very calm, very low-key comments, not a big deal at all. I've had much worse. The only person I've ever had to ban from commenting on my channel came from one of the two shorts, either 7 PRC in 1 minute or 7 PRC versus 7 Rem Mag. Those are the two shorts that I've received most of these comments from. But on one particular one, this guy lost his mind. And at first he was just basically saying I was wrong and this and that, and I said, oh, that's fine, oh, okay, whatever. And then he just went on and on and on, wouldn't stop, and was running everybody else down, and to the point where he was getting into race, politics, and religious topics for no reason. It kept coming back to the 7 PRC and 7 Rem Mag, but guy was probably a little bit crazy. And he might be watching this right now, I don't know, but dude, if you're watching this, chill out. There's way more important things in life. Of course, 99% of my viewers and the people who comment are excellent, and I love their comments, love to read them. But there's some people that get pretty upset. And if there's anything I've ever talked about on any video that has generated so much, ugly comments and hateful comments, it's either the 7 PRC versus 7 Rem Mag, or I had a lot of people when I talked about the 6.5 Creedmoor and the 6.5 Swede. That garnered a few hateful comments as well. But just occasionally getting comments like that, it's very interesting, so I thought I'd make a video about it today. All right, before I give you my opinions on which one I think is the best and kind of where I see the whole issue as far as the comments and people's reactions and where I see this going in the future as well, let me do just a short deep dive kind of in both cartridges. So the 7 Rem Mag came out in 1962 by Remington, and it came out the same year as the Model 700 Remington rifle. It was marketed as much energy as a 30-06, but as flat as a 270, and for all intents and purposes, that's exactly true. It's been a great hunting cartridge for many, many years, basically from 1962 up until this very day. It's extremely popular. I'd say it's one of the most popular cartridges out there. The 270, the 30-06, the 308, the 243 are just absolute very popular cartridges. Probably the 300 Win Mag as well. And then, we got some newer cartridges that are very popular, like the 6.5 Creedmoor, 6.5 PRC, and now 7 PRC. But the 7 Rem Mag's always been in that list of very popular cartridges. I did have one for a short time. I don't currently. Anyone that I've ever known who's used one for deer or elk or anything likes it. It just works. It's always worked. And I've just never heard of anyone having the rifle, shooting it extensively, and disliking it. It just doesn't happen. If you shoot it, you like it. The case has a belt on there, as you can see, and it just simply comes from the 300 H&H, which comes from the 375 H&H. In fact, a lot of your Weatherby cartridges, a lot of your Win Mag and Rem Mag cartridges all basically come originally from that 375 H&H, which is why they have a belt. I don't believe it headspaces off the belt anymore. I'm pretty sure it headspaces off the shoulder, but it does have a belt still. But that 375 H&H case, even though it's been shortened to fit in a standard action, is still a wider case than, say, a 30-06 case. So you're going to have a definite boost of velocity because you have more powder capacity. And it's right there in line with the 300 Win Mag. Both of those cartridges, it's just a bigger case, and you can shoot the bullet faster than, say, a 30-06 or a 280 Remington. and yet they fit into a standard action, as I just said. So you don't have to have a Magnum length action. Generally speaking, they require a 26-inch barrel, but they don't have to. You could go with a 24. But because of that extra case capacity, usually a 26 is, at least historically, a 26-inch barrel seemed to be optimum. We have had a lot of advancements in powder technology, and of course, there's so many different rates of burning with different powders and newer powders. I'm sure you could do just fine with a 24-inch barrel. The 7 Rem Mag does everything it attempts well, unless you just want a cartridge that has very little recoil and extremely long barrel life. Then that wouldn't be a 7 Rem Mag. But that's just not what it's about. It's a Magnum hunting cartridge. All right, 7 PRC came out just a few years ago. It's based on another 375 caliber case, but it's a 375 Ruger. So all 3 of the PRCs are based on that 375 Ruger. One is utilized in a Magnum length action, one's utilized in a standard or long action, and one fits into a short action, which is the 6.5 PRC. I think the 7 PRC is a great design, a tremendous design. And I love that it fits in that long action. I think it's just a perfect middle ground between the 6.5 and the 300 PRC. Of course, Hornady developed the cartridge, and they kept a lot of the same design characteristics as with their other PRCs and their Creedmoors. Tight chamber tolerances, faster twist rates, high head height on that bullet, just simply designed around shooting more modern, heavier, higher BC bullets. So as I just mentioned, it has a 1 in 8 twist, has a faster twist rate. The old Rem Mag had a 1 in 9.5 or 1 in 9.25, and occasionally you'd find 1 in 9. Even though there is plans of coming out with some faster twist rate 7 Rem Mags, I think Browning has already started. But traditionally speaking, it was 1 in 9.5 or 1 in 9.25. And it could get up there around 175 grain bullet. Especially like a partition. It would have no trouble at all with a 175 grain partition. A very long, sleek bullet in the 175 class, it might have trouble. Now before you comment, I know people have done it. It really depends on a lot of factors. It depends on the altitude you live in or you're shooting at. It depends on a lot of things. If you notice, Frontline Rejects and Reloading Weatherby have been shooting 165 grain AccuBond long range bullets in 1 in 10 twist 270 caliber cartridges and having no issues. So it could be done. Experiences vary, but for the most part, you're kind of tapped out around 170 or maybe 175 in say like a Nosler partition. But with the 1 in 8 twist, you're much more easily going to get to that 180 class, maybe even beyond bullet that's still a high VLD style sleek bullet. So that is one advantage for the PRC. The heaviest per caliber bullet weights will shoot better out of the 7 PRC than they will the 7 Rem Mag. That might mean nothing to you because you don't plan on shooting a 180 grain bullet. If you shoot that 175 partition or a 168 VLD bullet or something much smaller between like 120 and 150 grains, it's not really going to mean anything to you. Now when it comes to the chamber tolerances and which one's better, well, me personally, I think tighter chamber tolerances are a good thing. It lends or leads to potential accuracy gains. Doesn't mean it will be more accurate, but it potentially could be. Just less slop or movement in that chamber. Now, the Rem Mag has exactly the amount of tolerances that they wanted. They designed it that way. So any manufacturer's bullet or cartridge can be fed in there easily, smoothly, without any issues. So it really just depends, you know. There are times, I just think of a Glock, you know. When you think of a Glock, you don't think of tight chamber tolerances, but you never think of Glocks jamming, or almost never, because it's a little sloppy in there. So it might not have the most accuracy, but it's going to be potentially the most reliable. And then on the 7 PRC, it might not be the most reliable potentially, but it could be potentially, I'm saying that word a lot, I know, more accurate. because there's just less play in there. So it's a lot of hypotheticals, but in theory, that would be the advantage of both. If you would ask me which one I prefer, I would prefer the tight tolerances. Having said that, you might get a 7 PRC and you never have any issues ever. A lot of people say the WSM cartridges in theory don't feed as well. In my XPR, I've had 0 issues. It feeds really good. So these are just a lot of hypotheticals, but it's something to think about. Typically, I like my bullet to be seated out pretty far in around 20 thousandths from the lands. And that also gives you more case capacity within the case that you're not taking up with the bullet. If you're reloading, it honestly doesn't matter. You can do that with either case, though you might have a little bit more room with the PRC, and you can set the bullet whatever distance away from the rifling that you want. But if you're just shooting factory loads, you're probably going to have a lot more of a jump in a 7 Rem Mag versus a 7 PRC. Speaking of case capacity, if you take a 7 Rem Mag and a 7 PRC and you fill them completely full of water, you're going to get just a slight bit more water in that 7 Rem Mag. However, when you're talking about powder, especially extruded powder, and then you see the same, say, 180 grain bullet in both to the specs that it needs for its overall length, you're actually probably going to end up having a slight bit less capacity of powder with that bullet seated in there further in the 7 Rem Mag. But for the most part, they're pretty well the same. When it comes to velocity, I'm just going to say they're pretty darn close. I've seen a lot of published numbers that seem to indicate the PRC a little bit more efficient and you might get just a little bit more velocity out of them. Had a lot of people, though, say that they're not getting what the book says they should get, and they can actually get more out of their 7 Rem Mag. So everyone's story is going to be a little different. Everyone's going to have different, testing and different results. But for the most part, it's pretty much the same, with maybe a slight edge to the PRC, but you're going to get about the same velocity. All right, so in my 7 PRC in 1 minute short, I basically said, look, if you really want to shoot like 180 or 195 grain bullet in a 7 mag, go with the PRC. It's better suited for that. If you just think of the PRC as a more modernized 7 Rem Mag and you like the design features of it better, go with it. If you're wanting an extremely efficient 7mm, 708 would be better. Set 280 Ackley Improved is right there. And I started out by saying, look, if you have a 7 Rem Mag and you're established with it, and you've got all the components for it, and you reload for it, or you've got tons of factory ammo, and you've practiced with it, and you know how the gun shoots, should you sell it and go get a 7 PRC? Absolutely not. And that made a couple people mad. It's just, especially that person I mentioned, he could not understand why I wouldn't tell people that the PRC is 10 times better than the Rem Mag, and that you need to get rid of it, get up to the 21st century and get the PRC. That's ludicrous. There's not enough difference, in my opinion, to go sell all the guns you have or sell a 7 Rem Mag and go buy a PRC. If you want to, do it. But would I recommend you do it? No, it's not that big of a difference. If the 7 Rem Mag has been working for you, it's going to continue to work for you. It's very similar to my Swede versus Creed video where I talked about the 6.5 Swede. On the Hornady manual, you got about a 200 feet per second difference, and that's in 100+ years. Over 100 years from when the Swede was designed to when the Creed was designed, and you still don't have that much of a difference. But if you use other manuals, if you look at the Nosler manual and compare the same two cartridges, there is no 200 feet per second advantage. It's the same, basically. So that's a different comparison, but you could say, well, the Creedmoor has some advantages, and I like those advantages. It's also way more available, so I'm going to pick that over the Swede. That makes logical sense. But you could say, I've already got a Swede. I've got all the stuff I need for it. I've been shooting it for decades and decades. It's getting the same velocity with the same bullets as your 6.5 Creedmoor. There would be no chance or no logical reason for me to upgrade. That also makes sense. Well, it's the same with the 7 Mag and the 7 PRC. So here's my opinion. To those of you who really like the 7 PRC, which by the way, I do too, you got to understand there's nothing wrong with that 7 Rem Mag. It doesn't need to be replaced. It's not going to die in 5 years. It's not going away. I'm sure they said that about the 30-06 5 or 6 times. Every time some new 30 caliber cartridge came out, they said 30-06 will be dead in 5 years. No. The 7 Rem Mag's not going to be dead. Will it lose some of its share in popularity? I think it will. I think the PRC will take over to some degree. 7 Mag's not going away, guys. Not anytime soon. And for those of you who love the PRC, you got to realize that 7 Rem Mag is amazing. And it's been doing it since 1962. Basically doing the same thing. Yes, there's some, modern touches to the 7 PRC. And yes, there's a few advantages depending on what type of bullet you want to shoot. But my goodness, there's not that much difference. And you got to just back off. You got to stop overhyping this cartridge. To say it has some advantages, it does. For sure, it has some advantages. To say it's night and day different and better than the 7 Rem Mag is not true. It's not. You might feel like it is to you personally, but objectively it's not. It's very similar, very close in performance, okay? To those that will watch this video who are on the other side of this. You absolutely love the 7 Rem Mag for good reason. It's done really well for you for a long time. And you've killed countless game with it. And you have this hate for the 7 PRC just because it's new and overhyped. And maybe it's taken a little shine away from your 7 Rem Mag. You got to realize, guys, the 7 PRC is a good cartridge. It really is. It's basically getting the same performance, but yet it's got a lot of modern touches, and it's a really good cartridge. Okay, so for those huge 7 Rem Mag fans out there, and I know I got a bunch of you that watch the channel, the 7 PRC is good. It's not. Yes, it's overhyped. It's overhyped like the 6.5 Creedmoor was overhyped. It was way overhyped. I remember intelligent people who just didn't know much about guns had heard when the Creedmoor came out how it was the fastest cartridge and the flattest cartridge ever designed. Just nonsense was floating around out there to people who didn't know because it was so popular and becoming so big. So the 6.5 Creedmoor got extremely overhyped to the point now it's become underhyped. Everybody that wants to hate on the Creedmoor call it the man bun of cartridges. Guys, the 6.5 Creedmoor is a good cartridge. It really is. I don't quite get the hate. I just know it got overhyped, and now a lot of people have a dislike for it because of how overhyped it get. Well, let me tell you guys, you're doing the same thing to the 7 PRC. It's a phenomenal cartridge, but you're overhyping it. You're acting like it is so much better than the 7 Rem Mag that it's not even a comparison, and that anyone who even tries to act like it's close is a moron and needs to get into the 21st century. And I've had people call me like an old person, a fuddy-duddy, all this stuff, because they're just so they've bought the marketing to such a degree that they're mad that people can't see it. So what you're doing is you're overhyping this cartridge, but it's a great cartridge. It really is. You're overhyping it though to such a degree that you're getting a response from the other side who are now trying to undersell the 7 PRC, just like they undersold the 6.5 Creedmoor. You overhype the 6.5 Creedmoor so much that people begin to hate on it and undersell it, and now you're overhyping the 7 PRC so much that you've got the other side, the 7 Rem Mag fans, who are going after it, acting like it's a terrible cartridge, acting like the 7 PRC is not good at all. when in reality, neither side is correct. Don't overhype it, 7 PRC guys. 7 Rem Mag guys, don't act like the 7 PRC is a bad cartridge. It's not. Here's the truth. They're both excellent cartridges. Both of them. Now that might not be an interesting take. That might not be what you want to hear. Both sides might want me to jump on their side. But the point is, they're both outstanding cartridges. Which one is better? In my opinion, I personally like the design of the 7 PRC better. So if I was to go get a 7mm right now and I had one of those two choices, I'd get the 7 PRC. That's not because I think the 7 Rem Mag is going away. That's not because I think it's a lot better than the 7 Rem Mag. I just simply like the design of the 7 Rem Mag, of the 7 PRC, I'm sorry, better. I don't want the belt. I like a lot of Hornady's design features, and so I just would prefer it. Now, to those of you like me who are reloaders and you understand you can pretty much do whatever you want with either cartridge. With modern day propellants, modern day bullets, modern day cases, even match grade primers, the components are so much better than they used to be. You can take the Rem Mag or the PRC and you can have amazing accuracy out of both. You can get whatever performance metrics that you want out of both. If you shoot factory, the Rem Mag's been out longer, it's gonna have more options out there, but the PRC is catching on fast. Give it a few years, you're gonna have just as many offerings from bullet and cartridge manufacturers in the PRC. That to me is a non-issue because I'm a reloader. But if you're hung up on the availability of ammo, just go with the 7 Rem Mag for now. Give it a few years and it'll be about the same. So the 7 PRC, in my opinion, is not gonna kill the 7 Rem Mag, nor did the 6.5 Creedmoor kill the 308. The 308 is still alive and well. Go to Midway USA right now, look at their factory ammo. There's just as much, if not more, 308 ammo as there is 6.5 Creedmoor. Go to Bass Pro right now, at least the one close to me, and besides maybe 223, there's nothing more common than 308. It didn't get killed by the 6.5 Creedmoor. The PRC is not going to kill the 7 Rem Mag. It's definitely going to take over some of the market share, but they're both going to be viable. They're both going to stay out there, and they're both incredible, by the way. Probably two of the greatest cartridges ever designed. I hold my glass of coffee up to the 7 Rem Mag and the 7 PRC. Both are outstanding cartridges. Hopefully you've enjoyed this video. If you have, give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. Check the link in the description below. Got some interesting stuff over there. By the way, I have started a Rumble account. Go over there, find me, Hopeful Ballistics. I'm gonna start uploading some of my older videos and eventually get caught up. Hope you have a great day, and until next time, take care.